Hello, welcome to the CIRS Healing Collective expert guest video series. I'm Jenny Johnson, the host and facilitator of the CIRS Healing Collective, which has been a resource for aspiring CIRS overcomers to share and connect from around the world since 2020. I'm a shoemaker proficiency partner and CIRS coach, and most importantly, an overcomer myself. What you're about to see is a 10-minute excerpt from a 90-minute group discussion that members of the CIRS Healing Collective got to have live with this expert guest. If you would like to see the full 90-minute replay, come on over to the CIRS Healing Collective. We have a robust video library from the past 5 or 6 years of so many expert guests. Better yet, you'll be able to join our future monthly live discussions with experts to come. We'd love to have you.
Doesn't matter whether it's us, whether it's outside of us. Hitting the wall is that third step that makes the difference between stress and now trauma. When we hit that wall, it's a shock to our body. And many of you can probably remember a time where you felt like you were shocked. It stuns us that this is the situation, that this is actually what's happening, and there's nothing else I can do. And the effect is to stop us. So immobilization, or that freeze response, is step number 4. And there's survival benefit in that, because if I have hit the wall and there's truly nothing else that I can do, then I shouldn't waste my energy to keep trying. And so our body shifts into now a very different survival strategy. And the survival strategy is do nothing, surrender, shut down. And that's why it feels so different from the stress response. The stress response is high energy. I'm doing. I'm figuring out I'm planning. I'm taking action. And all of a sudden, we feel that drain of our energy. I remember the first time that I actually felt that happen in real time. Now I've gotten more familiar with my nervous system, and so I can feel it happening every time that it happens. And I know exactly what's happening inside of me. But I had never paid that much attention. And it wasn't until I was studying my nervous system and I was studying this freeze response. And I'd be like, I don't know, have I ever actually frozen? I don't think so, because I've never just stood there paralyzed. So I don't think that I've ever actually gone into this freeze response. But then I was in surgery residency and I walk into the OR, or the operating room, and I was very busy trying to get everything done before we were going to go into surgery, because once you go into surgery, like, you can't do the paperwork, you can't do the computer work, you can't go see that other patient that you need to check in on until the surgery is done. So I was trying to get all this stuff done before surgery. So by the time I arrived in the operating room, the surgeon, the main surgeon, was already there, and that was a big no-no. Don't know how much you know about the culture of surgery, but it's still very much patriarchal, very academic type of feeling, which means that I was supposed to be there before my attending surgeon and have everything all ready for him. And I didn't. And I'm rushing in, hoping that I'm making it in time. And then I see him. And he turns around and he looks at me, and he's standing right in front of me. He's tall. And he's got these blue eyes, and he looks down and he just looks into my eyes with disappointment. Oh. And I feel myself draining all of my energy. I had run into the room with lots of energy, and in a split second, I feel my energy completely draining. And I feel that shame. I feel that desire to just curl up into a ball and run away. I wanted to hide from him, from his eyes, from myself, from everyone else who saw that I was late, that I was a failure. And that was when I realized, oh, this feels very familiar. I've gone into the freeze response many times in my life. I've just never recognized it as the freeze, because did I actually freeze on the outside? No, no. I pulled myself together. That's what we do. There was no way that I was going to let him see how ashamed I was inside. And so it didn't look like freeze on the outside, but that's exactly what was happening inside of me. And then what happens after the freeze is the full shutdown. And the shutdown is our body saying, I'm going to do the bare minimum to just keep us alive right now. You're not going to have energy to do anything other than just the basics. It's such an uncomfortable place. It's such a heavy place. This is where depression lies. And so that is why I started noticing that when I have gone to that place, I have tried to do anything to not feel that. I drink caffeine. I will break out the candy or the chocolate, some type of sugar, to try to give myself the energy that I'm lacking when my body's gone into that freeze and shame and heaviness place. So these are the 5 steps that the body takes to go all the way from an ordinary day to I'm just barely surviving, and I'm just getting through.
Dr. Aimie, thank you so much for sharing some personal stories so we could really relate, and for being vulnerable with us. I think this is a safe space for that, and we can all imagine and remember similar circumstances. So thank you for painting that picture. And I'm picturing kind of this sequence of events for a classic person who finds out that their home is not safe. And they have all of these weird symptoms already. They go and talk with a doctor who finally says, I know what's wrong with you. Your home is making you sick. And we go back to this home, and all of a sudden we are stuck in a place that feels threatening, but we can't do anything about it, at least not for a while.
So now let's then talk about that critical line of overwhelm. So somewhere then in between 10 and 20 seconds and a mile is your critical line of overwhelm. So each of you, based on all of these factors, you're going to have that critical line that your body says, I can do this much for you and not anymore. And that then is where, for me, I start to have all the hope that I have for what we can do, because that capacity is something that we can change. We can look at, well, what are those things that are decreasing my capacity, that are holding me back, that are holding me down? And one by one, be able to apply specific repair tools for that specific block. And all of a sudden, I can go now from 5 seconds that I used to only be able to do, and now I can do 10 seconds. And I'm going to keep working on it. And whoa, 1 month later, and I can sprint for 15 seconds now. I also liken this to riding the waves of life, or riding the waves of emotions. Many people, when they decide that they need to do trauma work or personal development work, they jump into this pool that's called emotions without knowing how to swim yet. And they jump into the deep end and they drown. They drown in their own emotions. I've done that before. Anybody else want to admit that that's what they've done before? We drown in our own emotions. Whoa, that was too much sadness. Whoa, that was too much grief. Whoa, that was too much. And we drown in our own emotions. We're not ready for that. We're not ready for that level of depth. We don't have that capacity. So instead, we find our current capacity. I can feel this much grief and not fall apart. Okay, let's start there. We don't need to go any deeper. And actually, if we do, we end up hurting ourselves because we're drowning. So we start with our current capacity, and we respect and honor our current capacity while we build our capacity, so that tomorrow or next week or next month, I'm a little deeper in that swimming pool. I'm not at the same place where I was before. I don't want to stay there. I do want to build my capacity, but building my capacity also requires recognizing my current capacity so that I stay out of overwhelm, Jennifer. There is no growth in overwhelm.
Yeah.
And so
Overwhelm is being tapped out, right?
I'm tapped out. It's too much. I
Yeah.
drown. Whereas if I'm not drowning and I'm in the more shallow areas, I can learn to swim. I can learn the skills that I need to then have the larger capacity and be able to have the larger waves of emotions and change and loss and grief and not get overwhelmed like I used to.
Mm-hmm.
That's the
Yeah.
healing journey.
Thank you so much, Dr. Aimie. So when we are in the stress response, and in a way that's kind of good because it means we're not in the trauma or the overwhelm response, we're still mounting a response to try to fix the problem. Are there things lifestyle wise or supplement wise or practice wise that we can do to kind of support ourselves to be able to run that 20 seconds or to continue, with that kind of capacity? What are some practical things maybe?
The practical thing comes down to energy.
Yeah.
What is your body's ability to make energy?
Mm-hmm.
Because that's going to determine how fast you can sprint and how long you can sprint. If you can't make energy efficiently, however much energy you have to start with is all you have because you're not able to make more while you're sprinting. You're going to have to stop sprinting to then make more to then get back into the sprint.
Yeah.
So your capacity to make energy is really what it all comes down to. And now we get to open up all of this biochemistry and biology, as well as the emotional aspect, because even the emotions will tell our nervous system we're not safe and we shouldn't make energy. So it still does all factor in to what is our ability to make more energy and make it more efficiently.
That's such an important answer because you guys here know we just heard from Dr. Dorninger last month about the hallmark pathophysiology, the hallmark problem in our body for most CIRS people is we have something called molecular hypometabolism. We don't make energy well. And part of that is toxins actually attack our mitochondria. The ribosomes on our mitochondria are attacked by mycotoxins. They're called ribotoxins is what environmental toxins are. And so our mitochondria actually kind of go into a freeze response, right? In and of themselves, they go into the trauma response. When mycotoxins are in our system, our mitochondria power down out of a protective mechanism, and then we're not making energy very well. So we already have, most of us, an impaired energy production system, but that doesn't mean that there's nothing we can do. So I heard you say, other ways like managing our thoughts that can also be maybe energetically draining. What can we do to manage our thoughts and emotions? Are we eating really well, eating nutrient dense foods? Are we getting the sleep that we need? What is in our court that we can do that can at least support us with some energy, given that we may be in the cell danger response or molecular hypometabolism? That doesn't mean that we can't do anything for energetics. Would that be fair to say, Dr. Aimie?
I like to categorize it into two approaches for myself. And I look at what will help me make more energy and what can I decrease that is draining my energy. And then that allows me to look at those two lists and say, well, I can do one from this list and one from this list. Yeah. And I'm helping my body make more energy while also choosing better things so that my energy that I do have isn't drained for what's not important.
Yeah, having a part in this. And so, Aimie, how can we determine, like, is this an external thing and we just need to detox more? Or is this a trauma response and I need to be a little bit more nuanced? Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, well, what if we just dropped the word trauma?
Yeah.
What if we just talked about it in terms of my nervous system?
Yeah.
My body. And what can I do to help my body be at its best? because that is when my nervous system will be in this calm and alive state, and it will be out of these other survival states that I can see that it just doesn't handle things well when it's in survival. And I don't want to live my life from a place of survival. And that allows me, at least, to then look at everything in my life and what I'm doing, what I'm eating, as what is the effect on my nervous system?
Mm-hmm.
Is this promoting a sense of safety, calmness, aliveness? Or is this promoting stress, danger, threat?
Mm-hmm.
I am going to get enough stress and danger and threat just from life itself. I don't need to create more of that or allow my life, my ordinary, my daily life to be that.